I'm going to start a series on G.K. Chesterton's The Outline of Sanity. This is a book that is considered to be a classic of distributism, and this is a way of thinking about economics that is neither uh, pro capitalist nor is it communist. Rather, it is kind of rooted in Christian traditions. And it's a school of thought that I want to learn more about. And this looks like a classic of it. And I found this article from something called I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing this, the Distributist Review. And this is by a Dr. Peter Chojnowski. And I'm not going to read all of this, but I do think that it's pretty good as far as giving us an idea of what distributism is and also why G.K. Chesterton's book is maybe the place to start. There's so many different places to start, but this looks like it might be a good bet. And the book is supposed to come in the mail today, although it's like 20 below out here, and we have rolling outages, and it's kind of a hellscape in my neck of the woods right now, you know. So who knows if the book will even come, but I have, faith that it will be delivered somehow, even if it's me just finding it on the internet somehow. Um, but I wanted to like skip down to, let's see, around here, where he says, this is Dr. Chanowski, what's his name? Chanowski, yes, I'm right. Um, with corporate collapses like Enron, WorldCom, and Kmart, and with national defaults on bank loans as have never been seen before in human history by nations such as Russia, Argentina, and soon Brazil, this was a little while ago, but not that long ago, would not such a reevaluation of the fundamentals of the liberal capitalist system, universally triumphant, at least in theory, since the breakup of the Soviet Empire in 1991, be at the forefront of every thinking man's mind, especially the thinking men who inherit the religious and intellectual traditions of Chesterton, Hilaire Belloc, Pope Leo XIII, and Pope Pius XI. The reason this is not on every thinking Catholic's mind, I believe, is simple. Too many Catholics, who should know better, reject or ignore the warnings and admonitions which issued from the popes from Leo the XII to Pius XII, and have also remained ignorant of the critiques of the liberal capitalist system which have issued from Catholic intellectuals such as G.K. Chesterton and Hilaire Belloc. With this said, we must also state that there are those who see the problem, know the Church's social teaching, and yet reject the solutions the Church proposes to the economic situation of the age. Such enthusiasts of the liberal capitalist system have recently published a number of articles to this effect in various American Catholic journals. Their outright rejection of the economic teaching and practical agenda for Catholic and social economic reconstruction, as offered to us by Pope Leo XIII in Rerum Novarum, and by Pope Pius XI in Quadragesimo Anno, is often subtly laden with a hint of irritation that anyone would seek to challenge a system which so obviously works. There are those on the other extreme who identify the social teachings of the Church, they identify with them, but who only are interested in immediate implementation of that teaching in their own lives and not in any theoretical defense of the need to resort to the social teachings. If most of us cannot do now, why spend the time reading about or discussing the matter? G.K. Chesterton, in his newly republished 1926 book, The Outline of Sanity, answers the objectors who ask, why deal with this topic at all? By making the following analogy. A man has been led by a foolish guide or a self-confident fellow traveler to the brink of a precipice, which he might have well fallen over in the dark. It may well be said that there is nothing to be done but to sit down and wait for the light. Still, it might be well to pass the hours of darkness in some discussion about how it will be best for them to make their way backwards to more secure ground. The formulation of any coherent plan of travel will not be a waste of time, especially if there's nothing else to do. So, with this one thought, Chesterton justifies his string of essays, which were published as the Outline of Sanity in 1926 and then republished by IHS Press. And I actually don't know what version I am getting. So, anyway, we're in a world where it's becoming increasingly obvious that even in a country such as the United States of America that's so wealthy, that there are times of crisis bring this, acknowledgement to the forefront. There are many, 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 many people living on the edge. And our current modes of taking care of people and of distributing wealth so that people can live, even if it's just electrical power, and it's not even having to do with whether the people involved are making a living or not, but our actual infrastructure, our actual money making infrastructure is simply not working during times when we need it the most. And you could look at vaccine distribution. You could certainly look at all the people who are unemployed and all the businesses that have failed because the current system has no effective means of helping them. It's not even that it doesn't want to, it's that there's no effective means within the current framework to do so. This should lead us to question whether we have entirely got it right. And so I want to take a good long look at distributism. This is my way in through this book by Chesterton. I suspect that over time I will look at others. I am very interested in the Catholic worker movement and other aspects of this way of thinking. But this is a good entry point. And so for those of you who want to follow along, I think this would be a book to get. I do plan on covering it fairly thoroughly. Hopefully it'll be more popular than Pigs Are Not Sexy, but like they're extremely relevant because they provide a point on which to focus our minds as far as our economic system and our distribution system and how we use our labor. But granted, pigs are boring compared to Chesterton.